There was a professor of mathematics who I don't even remember how we learned our mutual interests, but at some point, something about remote viewing came up and he expressed an interest. And so we started doing informal experiments on remote viewing. And we're getting some interesting results on it. So through him, I was introduced to a couple of other professors who also had more or less secret interests. So as a graduate student, I started dabbling in these sorts of things. And as a result, eventually discovered that there were journals, that there were organizations, that were other people out there doing it. And then I discovered in the library stacks at the University of Illinois, way down in like the 5th sub-basement, there was a huge section on parapsychology, like all of the books and journals that you would expect to find in a really good library. And I spent a fair amount of time there just exploring the idea that a lot of people for a long time have been spending serious effort looking at these kinds of phenomena. In 1970, when I think I was either a freshman or a sophomore in college, the TM program was on campus. And so I learned how to do TM type meditation. And I very quickly started to run into mental phenomena that I didn't know what to do with. And at that point, the people who were the so-called checkers, who you would go after meditating a while and describe what's happening, they had no idea what was going on because they had started meditating 1 week before I did. That was kind of a mind opener for me to show that a fairly simple mantra meditation could produce pretty serious changes mentally that would change your perception of reality. So that was an experiential thing. I think even before I got involved in all this, very often I'd go to a concert or I'd do something where I was thinking, oh, I want to do that. And typically within a year, I was doing that, including things like, I think I'd like to be the concertmaster of that orchestra. Next year, I was concertmaster of the orchestra, but this happened repeatedly in many, many different ways. So part of it was simply a focus of this is what I want. Part of it was also a lot of hard work that went behind it. So it doesn't happen all by itself, but it's as though the want probabilistically excites the world to allow that possibility to open. But then you have to walk through it, right? It's a combination of action on many different levels in order to make something occur. But it's happened so often that I figure that whatever I'm doing, somewhat conscious, but usually it's the way that something unfolds is not conscious. When I put my science hat on, I'm thinking, this is crazy. It's crazy to think that way because the physical world out there does have certain regularities and laws, and you can't override them simply by wishing it so. But when I take that hat off and I look back at both my career and other things that have happened throughout my life, I'm thinking, well, it looks like something like that is happening. So they're kind of both true at the same time. From a scientific perspective, and of course, I was trained in materialism like every other scientist, still are trained. There's an enormous amount to be said in its favor because it works really well. But as I now say, it doesn't work really well for everything, in which case materialism is a subset of a larger and more comprehensive philosophy that we have various names for it. So my current working favorite is dual aspect monism. But that's going to change because something else will come along probably. But it provides a very different way of thinking about how reality unfolds than materialism does.